Welcome to the Baseball Together podcast with your hosts, Blackjack Brad and Briggy Blue Eyes. And now, Baseball Together. Baseball family, welcome to this week's episode, times 2 of the Baseball Together podcast. In case you forgot or did not catch our Tuesday morning episode, we have shifted the format of the show. We are now doing 30 minutes of news. That comes out Tuesday morning. You can do that on part 1 of your commute. And then part 2 on Fridays. You will be getting this. During the season, we're going to continue doing our Thursday Night Live. And then this will move to Saturday. Sunday. Well, whatever. Yeah. We'll figure it out.
It'll be there. You'll find it.
It'll be there. But right now, this is Friday. Welcome to Friday. This is where we're going to do our fun stuff. We're going to do our games and our topics that we argue about. And right now, we're going to argue about the Marlins Mount Rushmore. That's the topic of today's show. We've done this a whole bunch of times. There's a whole playlist of Mount Rushmore episodes that you can go back and watch on the YouTube machine. And while you're there, you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give us a follow, ring the bell, whatever it is that you got to do, whatever version of YouTube there is right now. And do that because it helps support the show. You share it with your people and get them involved as well. Go ahead, get ready, Keyboard Rangers. We're going to argue about it in the comments because Brad and I are not Marlins fans, but we are baseball fans. And we have decided that we know better than you who should be on the Marlins Mount Rushmore.
Hey, actually,
just
Greg,
kidding.
I have a fun thing. I have a surprise for you at the end after we go through all of our Mount Rushmores, our nominees. Okay. I have a surprise for you at the end.
All right, cool.
Okay.
Let me give one further disclaimer for those of you new to the way we do things and new to the Mount Rushmores that we do. Brad and I do not collaborate. We don't have a clue what's on each other's lists. We're just analyzing it cold. And he's going to be wrong and I'm going to be right. Happens every time. But what also happens is that we overlap at least one name every time. And it's fun. And sometimes we steal from each other without knowing it. And it's just terrific. So very excited to invite you to join us. First, I'm going to give you a rundown of the team's history. Brad's going to go through the team name origins. And then we're going to get into the Mount Rushmore. Okay? First things first. This team has gone by the Florida Marlins and the Miami Marlins. That's a tease. They've been around for 32 seasons. They were franchised expansion team, 1993. They continue to be a team in the South Florida as of today. Their record percentage, .459. That's 2,303 wins, 2,709 losses, 4 playoff appearances in that 32 years. They have 2 pennants, 2 world championships. Winningest manager with a .430 win percentage, Donnie Baseball, Don Mattingly.
I've always thought it was impressive. You make it to the World Series twice and you go 2 for 2. And for a while, it was like when the Marlins make the playoffs, they win the World Series. And I think it was until 2020 when that happened. But anyway, fun little thing with the Marlins. Okay, so where did they get their team name from? How about this, Brig? So like you said, expansion team in 93, and they used the Marlins specifically because it was a team name that had been used in the area with minor league teams in the 50s, 60s, and 80s. They chose the Florida Marlins because they wanted to attract fans from across the state, from everywhere, which I think makes sense. And then they changed to Miami for the 2012 season and beyond so they could help get some funding for the new stadium. So, makes sense.
I can see that. I loved 2012. It was a great year.
Great year.
It's a great year for baseball. All right, Brad. With that dubious honor, I would like you to go first.
All right, I'll go first. That's fine. Okay. This one might be a little controversial.
Ooh,
okay.
You're lead off controversial.
This is a guy.
Like that.
He did not have a super long career. He was with the Marlins for, I'd say 5+ years. And he looked like a Hall of Famer during that time. He looked like a surefire Hall of Famer when he was playing for the Marlins. And this is Hanley Ramirez. Okay. He won Rookie of the Year in 2006, led the league in runs in 2008, batting average in 2009. He's a 3-time All-Star during his time in Florida. And when he won the Rookie of the Year, he won it by 4 votes with a B WAR of 2 points above the runner-up, Ryan Zimmerman. But then he also, not only did he have a killer year as a rookie, but he had to share the field with other rookie standouts. He had 5 teammates who finished in the top 10 Rookie of the Year voting. So not just him, but 5 other guys on that team. Dan Ugla, Josh Johnson, Scott Olson, Annabelle Sanchez, and Josh Willingham all finished top 10. And the last 3 or 4 of those guys, they all finished with like 1 vote. So they were like tied for 9th or whatever. But still, they were there. They got votes, which means that he was like, that's how good he was, that playing with really good rookies, he looked like the best of the year.
Right. Yeah.
Which is awesome. He was MVP runner-up in 2009. He finished second, or he is currently second in team history in B WAR. And
it's true.
and I will say this. Putting together the Mount Rushmore for the Marlins for me was not easy because it's like there are a few guys who stand out, but then it's like he wasn't there for very long. Like Kevin Brown was only there for like 2 years.
Right.
But I remember vividly Kevin Brown playing for them because he was so good and he won a World Series, right? So that's part of the problem. But the fact that he put up such a stellar numbers in a short period of time and so young with the Marlins, to me, is a huge deal. And do you, I mean, we all remember Manny Wood and Manny Mania, but Hanley Mania was a thing during his 3-year peak from 2008 to 2010. And when the Marlins were again getting ready to trade him in 2012, like it became a thing again. It was huge. He was like the biggest thing on the market because Hanley Ramirez was a beast. And to me, I don't feel like you can tell the story of the Marlins without including Hanley Ramirez, partially because his story is going to be told probably 3 times tonight, at least. Something similar to it. Because that's how things go in South Florida.
It really
develop a stud, and then right before he hits free agency, you trade him.
Yep. Every time.
Yep.
So Hanram was on my list of considerations as well.
Okay.
However, I chose not to include him at all in my Mount Rushmore nomination list.
And that's just fine.
Thank you. I don't think it's that controversial. It just didn't fit my criteria. Okay. My number 1 played with the Marlins for 2 stints, 93 to 97, and then a break, and then again 03 to 05. He was there for both World Series championships.
I don't know who this is.
Yeah, of course. Mr. Marlin, right? It's Jeff Conine.
Yep.
You can't go... How are you going to tell the story of the Marlins franchise without Jeff Conine? Okay?
You don't.
He's an OG Marlin, right? He was in the Royals organization, and then during the expansion draft, he gets pulled over, and then boom, flourishes. Rookie of the Year, he third in Rookie of the Year voting in 93. That year, he slashed 292, 351, 403 with 12 homers. That was in 93. 95, he was the All-Star Game MVP. That's a cool story. He was an All-Star twice, and he finished his time in Miami, 290, 358, 455, 120 home runs, 180 doubles, and a 13.7 WAR. His standout, again, he's Mr. Marlin. His standout moment, or I should say one of this iconic Marlins moments for Jeff Conine, playing left field. It's game 4 of the NLDS. By the way, did you know both times the Marlins advanced and won the World Series, they did so on wild card bids?
Yeah.
Isn't that awesome?
Because they were playing in the East, in the National League East, with teams like the Braves.
Yeah, crazy.
So, yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so left field, he throws out JT Snow at the plate. It's a shallow left field. It hops into his glove. He hurls it as hard as he can. Perfect spot. Pudge catches it. Collision before the plate. Pudge holds onto it. Bam, they go to the NLCS. Love it. That was 2003.
Nice.
I don't think you can talk about the Marlins historically without Jeff Conine. He's Mr. Marlin.
You can't. And the only thing that I have on my notes that you didn't include was that he actually led the team in B WAR its second year in existence, which is the strike-shortened season in 1994.
Right.
But I feel like a guy with the nickname Mr. Marlin absolutely has to be there because he's not just Mr. Marlin because he was like the first, right? He wasn't the first pick. Yes, he, like you said, he's an OG, but he made his mark on the league as a Marlin and simultaneously left the Marlins' mark on the league by being there and playing
twice.
outstandingly. Yeah.
Twice.
So he absolutely deserves to be on the Marlins Mount Rushmore for sure.
So he was on your list as well.
Yep, he was.
There's our overlap.
I think he's
right
on
away.
every Mount Rushmore list, to be honest with you.
He should be.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So that means I have 2 left.
Okay. Well, let me go again then.
Okay, go ahead.
So I have 3 left. I'm going to get, let's see. Who am I going to get out of the way here? I feel like we're going to overlap a lot now because just like you, short history, a lot of guys leave. My biggest thing, I love see franchise guys. I love guys that stay there the entire time of their career. They're there for all the big moments, all the excitement, right? They build a statue out front to these people. That's what I love. But that doesn't happen with the Marlins. We don't have enough of that. There's not enough. Nobody has the tenure.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm going to go. Ooh, okay. Let's just get it out of the way. I'm going to say Miguel Cabrera. I think you have to include Miguel Cabrera.
That's another one I have.
Dang it. He was MVP vote candidate every year he was with the Marlins. He was an All-Star 4 times across all the seasons he was there. Well, the 5 seasons, 4-time All-Star selection. In 2003, when he came in partway through the season, he helped carry them to the World Series and a World Series victory. He's 20 years old at the time. His iconic moment was the Game 4 home run off Roger Clemens in the World Series against the Yankees. He hit, that was one of 4 playoff homers that he hit in 03.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
So I want to add something to this because as I was looking at this, I was like, this is really fascinating to think about because I was looking at the breakdown of his career between the Marlins and the Tigers. So think about this. So think about this for a minute. The Marlins got 5 really good years out of Miggy, 5 great years out of Miggy, right?
Right.
The Tigers had him for 16, but they had more bad Miggy years than the Marlins had good Miggy years. He had 7 seasons, yeah, where he posted a WAR of 1.1 or lower. They got 9 good years, which is great, which is outstanding. He got a triple crown, MVPs, everything the like, right?
The whole thing. Yeah.
During his 5 years in Florida, he had 2 MVP runners-up, or was finished runner-up twice in the MVP voting, and some of the best hitting we have seen with anybody since Bonds. The Marlins got him for cheap because they only had to pay him more than $1 million once, and that was in 2007. They paid him $7.4 million.
Oh. Yeah, during his time, he had a .313 average, 842 hits, and 138 homers just in Miami.
Yeah, that's a heck of a run for a guy that young playing for that team. I love it. I think really Miggy absolutely deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore because it's funny because like he was a Tiger for so long that you kind of forget about it a little bit, right? Like a piece of me for a long time forgot that Miggy was not just in Miami, but very good in Miami. Really, really great. So I agree with you. Miggy was another one of my guys. So I have one left on my Mount Rushmore. So for my last guy, I hope for my sake and maybe a little bit for yours that we overlap on this guy. I think we will because he is larger than life physically and he was statistically as well when he was in Miami. This is the baseball player formerly known as Mike Stanton, Giancarlo Stanton. Which, by the way, can we just go for just a second? Like, how much cooler of a name is Giancarlo than Mike? Like,
It's way better.
I get why he probably went by Mike growing up, but at the same time, though, there was a Mike Stanton who played baseball, so he probably changed so he could be his own Stanton, right?
Well, he
That's
changed
probably
for a
part of it.
number of reasons. The storyline is there, and it's interesting. You should go look it up. Not you, Brad, but everybody else. But I wasn't taking a shot at you, Brad.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, just read a book, Brad.
It's one of those things where, like, I think I've gone to look it up many times, but on my way, I get distracted by something else, which happens all the time on my phone.
Yeah.
So,
That
but
happens
anyway,
to me every day. That's hilarious.
it's like I'll be sitting there with my phone, like, what was I doing? Not playing this stupid game.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Thanks,
anyway.
Royal something, whatever.
Yeah,
Royal match.
So stupid. Yeah.
Now
But
I'm
anyway,
gonna not
let's talk
tell
about
you the story because now I do want you to go look it up.
Oh, I'll get there eventually, Brig. Someday I'll get there.
Yeah, I'll bet. I
All
watched
right,
Easy
let's
A,
talk
so
about
I
Stanton.
believe you.
Let's talk about Stanton for a minute. So he is the all-time leader in B WAR on the team. He led his team in B WAR 4 times. Unfortunately, those teams were not good, but he played with really great players. He played with Christian Yelich. He played with JT Realmuto. He played with D. Gordon, who actually led the team in WAR once or twice while he was there. It was pre-Jazz, but still, like, they've had some really great players come through Miami, which is something we're finding out as we're really digging into this stuff, right? Stuff we knew, but just how great they were. He won 1 MVP. He was runner-up once. 4-time All-Star, 2-time Silver Slugger. He led the league several times in multiple categories. B-WAR once, homers twice, slugging thrice times, OPS plus once, total bases once, intentional walks once. And again, those Marlins years were by far the best of his career. If the Yankees got Marlins Stanton, could you imagine how good that team would be?
Oh, dude.
I mean, we saw it in October this year. Let's be real.
Yes, we did.
That's what we saw. We saw vintage prime Stanton. We were not getting Yankee Stanton. We were getting Miami Stanton.
Yep.
Just a completely different animal.
Yeah, I totally agree.
So
he was there from 2010 to 2017. You know how I know that? Because he's on my list too. Super
nice. I wasn't kidding you. I was hoping he was. I wanted to take one of yours since you took 2 of mine.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned this because you were moving fast, but he's got 1,983 total bases just in Miami and 267 home runs just in Miami. His slash line just in Miami was 268, 360, 554. And in 2017 alone, when he had those 59 homers, it was 169 OPS plus. 169 OPS.
Yeah, I saw that. That was crazy.
Oh my God. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. He had 8 seasons with at least 22 home runs each season.
So, do you remember when he got hit in the face by Mike Fiers?
That's what I was going to say.
That's who that was, by the way.
Yeah.
So, one thing that I think is underrated that he did when he came back was that I think it was Nike made him a custom face guard that had a G on it.
Yep.
And it was awesome. It was one of the coolest pieces of custom equipment I've ever seen. I wish he still wore it. I would bet money that Major League Baseball told him he couldn't wear it. But it was awesome.
Oh, yeah. It was awesome. Well, you know, some of the name changes tied into that storyline. So, fun fact. But also, it's gone. Whatever I was going to say was pretty cool, but I don't know where it went.
We'll never get to hear it.
It's gone. I don't know. Oh, I got it. Ready?
There it is.
The year he hit 59 in 2017, he made a comment because people consider him a student of the game, and he has an affinity for the history of baseball, is what I hear. I don't know. I haven't talked to him about it. But that's what they say. And he considered his 2017 run with 59 home runs an effort to break the real home run record. So just put that in your blog and post it. Just think about that for a minute. It's very interesting. Yeah.
It is interesting. Interesting phrasing.
Exactly.
So
anyway,
that's cool.
For what it's worth. Okay, down to me. I'm gonna finish it off here.
Last one.
Okay.
Well, before you do that, can we talk honorable mentions just real quick?
Oh yeah, I got one.
Because I feel like I have two. I feel like one of them is actually really important. Go ahead with yours first.
No, you have two. I only have one.
Okay, all right, I'll do. All right, okay, I'll do two.
If you steal mine, though, I'm gonna be really mad.
Well, so one, I wanted to go with Dontrelle Willis as an honorable mention.
Not. Okay, that's not what.
And my thing is like I just remember watching D-Train and being like, "Whoa, the dude's different."
Yeah.
Right, like that was a big thing.
You're not wrong.
It's like his to say his best years were in Miami, his only good years were in Miami. But he was as dominant as they came in Miami. Like I had friends at school being like, "Dude, do you know Dontrelle Willis?" Like, "You know Dontrelle Willis? You don't even like baseball. You know who Dontrelle Willis is." Like that's how big of a deal he was when we were in school. And the other one is Jose Fernandez.
Yeah.
Because the thing about Jose Fernandez is that if he had not passed away, if he had not died in that boat accident in 2016, he would have eventually made it on this list. Because he was a machine.
Unquestionably.
The dude was a monster. He was so good. He played 4 or 5 years, and he was already top 12 in B War in team history.
Yeah.
Because he was so dominant. And it's really sad to think about.
It's so sad. Well, and when D. Gordon hit that homer, when they're all wearing 16 on their back, it's just, I mean, you want to talk about the story of the franchise. This is one of the stories you cannot help but tell. It's right up there. So I thought about adding Jose Fernandez as well for the exact same reasons. And he's the first number they retired
in the visitor center. Yeah. I think Jose Fernandez is a memorial in the visitor center. Is what I think
of the Mount Rushmore. Yeah. So my honorable mention is actually a guy who played when the Marlins were a AAA franchise in Miami.
Oh.
He played from 1956 to 1958. That was his age 49, 50, and 51 seasons. 49, 50, and 51, and he remained dazzling as a starter and a reliever. His first year as a reliever in Miami's AAA club, he had 13 saves. And he split time between starting and relieving. And that is none other than Satchel Paige.
I wondered if that's who that was. That's amazing.
Right? When I stumbled across that, I was like, what?
That is a nugget, Brig. That's awesome.
Dude, I talk about baseball history, man. I about lost it. I was jumping up and I was like, this is the coolest thing. The man, the myth, the absolute legend, Satchmo. He ends up at age 49, 50, and 51. He's like, you need a guy to come in and close it out? I got you.
I got you. Yep.
Oh, man.
That's so cool. That's so good.
Cool. All right, nothing's better than that. But I'm going to give you my final nominee for the thing we're doing. This guy played with the Marlins from 01 to 05. 10.7 WAR, 3.46 ERA, a 1.235 WHIP, averaged 9 Ks per 9. Postseason hero Josh Beckett. And I think the reason you have to go with Josh Beckett is because of his postseason heroics, particularly against the Yankees. You have to.
I came really close to having him for that reason.
So, 2003 World Series MVP, 1.10 ERA through that postseason, 19 strikeouts, and a 0.796 WHIP during that 03 postseason. And his iconic moment, and this is huge, came in Game 6 of the 2003 World Series versus the Yankees in the Boogie Down against Andy Pettitte, of all people. and he shuts out the Yankees in a complete game 5-hitter. They win 2-0. That's like hollowed ground, bro. That's like
It's a big thing. It's big time. Yeah.
I mean, seriously, like that's just unbelievable. So I think if you're talking about huge moments in the franchise history, I think Josh Beckett takes the cake. He's got to be on there.
I think you've sold me on Josh Beckett, because I was kind of like, I was wondering if you could include a guy just because of a moment, because he didn't have the longest tenure with the Marlins by any stretch of the imagination.
Nope.
And I might argue he was a better player with the Red Sox as well.
Sure. Yeah.
Overall. But I think you're right, though. A complete game to win the World Series against the Yankees in New York.
And Andy Pettitte on the mound?
Yeah, and against that Yankees lineup, like, that's a
Right?
big deal.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot.
That could very well get you on Mount Rushmore by itself.
Yeah. Well, and with a team like we've talked about, who doesn't have too many of these like iconic moments, you almost have to go with the moment to judge who needs to be on the Mount Rushmore. If we're talking chapters in the story, it all happens within 2 chapters. Honestly, 3 chapters. You've got
Right.
the 2 World Series appearances and then everybody else.
Yeah. Yep.
So anyway,
You're right. I like it. That's a good one. That's a really good one. Yeah,
Oh,
I went
thanks.
back and forth a lot on Josh Beckett, and I ended up talking myself out of him, but I think you may have just talked me back into him, despite the fact that he wasn't even one of my honourable mentions.
Oh boy, here we go. Well, baseball family, we want to know, who did we leave off? Were you pissed that Luis Castillo didn't make it on there, or Josh Johnson, or any of the other names that could have been on there? We left a lot of guys off, and
we did. So before we end,
to.
though, Brig, we have a couple things that we have to do still. Let's ask ChatGPT what it thinks about who belongs on the Marlins Mount Rushmore. So here we go. This is word for word what ChatGPT said to me when I said, who belongs on the Miami and Florida Marlins Mount Rushmore? So for the Miami Marlins, former Florida Marlins, the team's Mount Rushmore would be a mix of key figures from both their time as the Florida Marlins and their more recent history as the Miami Marlins. Here's a breakdown of who could make it. Jeff Conine. Why? One of the original faces of the franchise, Conine was a key part of the Marlins' first 2 World Series championships in 93 and 97. 97 and 2003. My numbers got all mixed up there. His leadership, consistency, and clutch play make him a natural fit. Legacy, 2-time All-Star, 97 World Series MVP, beloved by fans. Number 2.
1 for 1.
We have Miguel Cabrera. Why? Cabrera is one of the most talented players in MLB history and started his Hall of Fame career with the Marlins. While his prime years came with the Detroit Tigers, he helped lead the Marlins to their 2003 World Series title at just 20 years old. Legacy, 2003 World Series champion, 2012 Triple Crown. That doesn't count because it wasn't a Marlin, and future Hall of Famer. Number 3, this shocked me. Number 3 shocked me. Are you ready for this? Hanley Ramirez. Why? Hanley Ramirez was arguably the best position player the Marlins have ever had. A dynamic shortstop with power, speed, and charisma, he was the face of the franchise for much of the 2000s. Legacy, 3-time All-Star, 2009 Silver Slugger, a central figure in the team's success during his time in Miami. And then number 4, Jose Fernandez. Why? Fernandez is one of the most tragic and talented figures in Marlins history. A dynamic pitcher with electric stuff. He was the face of the franchise and a beacon of hope for the team's future before his untimely death in 2016. Legacy, 2-time All-Star, 2013 NL Rookie of the Year, one of the best pitchers in the league during his short career. Absolutely.
100%.
Okay, I have one more Mount Rushmore list for you. I texted a friend of the show.
Okay.
With ties to the Marlins.
Okay.
That's right. I texted David Sampson to see who he would put on the Marlins Mount Rushmore. Told him what we're doing. He sent it back. This is what he said. He said Jeff Conine, Miguel Cabrera, Giancarlo Stanton, then either Mike Lowell, Luis Castillo, the second baseman, for those of you not tracking, or Gary Sheffield as the 4th.
You know, I looked really hard at Sheffield.
I did too. And after he texted me that, I looked really hard at Sheffield. I was like, I just couldn't do it, but I can see the argument for it. But personally,
I
I
can
couldn't do it.
too. I couldn't do it, but I agree. The argument makes perfect sense. But hey, that puts me 3 for 4 with David Sampson. Okay, taking the win.
Right, exactly right.
Yeah, baby.
I'll take the win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo! I feel
For
good.
sure. And for the record too, like I did not look at his text message until after I put my list together because I wanted to make mine and be able to do it independently of what he said. And so, yeah.
Love it.
Anyway, I thought that was pretty cool that he
Well, thanks, David,
shared
for
that
your
with us.
input
So that was
and
fun.
for being a friend of the show. We love it. We just love it.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
okay, baseball family, it's time to argue. Get in the comments, yell and scream with your keyboards, but be kind to each other because the world needs more of that. We don't need to be barbaric and, vicious to each other, but be kind to each other. But let's argue this. What do you think? Did we blow it? Do you agree with Sampson? What do you think? That's what I want to know.
Let us know. Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
Baseball
Brad,
family, don't
this
forget
is
to
fun.
like,
I
subscribe,
always
rate, and
enjoy
review
doing this.
everywhere that you can. And also, get yourself some seeds at Chinook Seedery with BT Pod. Save 10% on your order. And baseball family, we'll catch you next week.